You're watching Rogers TV.
Welcome to Daytime Ottawa here on Rogers TV. Another great show ahead. We've got a wonderful author on the show today. Pamela Stewart is back on the show from the Carleton Place Gallery. We've got a couple of fantastic events to tell you about. But as usual, we kick off in the kitchen today. Pleased to introduce you to Justin Champagne Lagarde. He is the chef and owner of Perch Restaurant here in Ottawa. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. Oh, it's a pleasure. And I want to, first of all, before we talk about Perch, let's talk about you.
Yeah.
I want to talk about you. Tell me a little bit about your culinary background, your journey so far.
So I started, I guess, primarily in Vancouver. Started working at Sea Restaurant there under Chef Robert Clark. That was before I went to culinary school. It was a hard job. It was difficult, definitely above what I had known at the time. So I went to culinary school as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Kind of got me focusing on fish, seafood. That was great. Spent a lot of time in Vancouver, a lot of time, 4 or 5 years, I guess.
Okay.
So Sea Restaurant, Hawksworth Restaurant. Then I actually went down to San Francisco to work at 3 Michelin starred Atelier Crenne for a few months.
Wow.
So I staged there, and then ended up moving to Ottawa.
It's interesting too that you said you were working in the restaurant business and then you felt that you had to go to culinary school.
Yeah.
There was a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure. There's a lot to know.
A lot to learn,
yeah,
I guess, right?
And I was being told how to do things, but I wasn't understanding why to do those things necessarily. And I'm somebody that needs to know why in order for it to really stick.
Right.
So I decided culinary school was probably the best bet for that. So ended up applying and getting into Northwest Culinary Academy of Vancouver, which is a very intensive 4-month program.
Wow.
A lot of homework and time I had to practice at home. And then, yeah, we're right back into the restaurants.
I think that's great for viewers to understand that too, right? That, I think we all take for granted, right? Oh, I cook at home, and there seems to be this romanticizing about, oh, one day I'd love to open my own restaurant, right?
It's not as romantic as you would think.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you become, chef and owner, you're no longer just, in the kitchen doing your thing. Now you're doing the books and you're negotiating leases. And what's that been like for you?
That's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Luckily, I have a lot of friends who are also restaurateurs, so I've had a lot of people I can reach out to, ask their opinion, ask their suggestions. I actually just signed the next 5 years today.
Congratulations.
For my lease.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations.
But yeah, reading through that 30-page contract and not understanding any of it and having to talk to other people, it's quite interesting.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
We're going to build a little something today. What are we making today on the show?
So we have this on the menu right now on our 9-course tasting menu. I guess it would be more of like a canapé or a snack if it was at an event or at a house party or whatever.
Okay.
But it's a tartare made from Pitsy tender, which is also called the clawed hammer. That's the shoulder cut. We use Enright cattle, which is a fantastic local farm. We're going to be mixing that up with some sea truffle emulsion, putting it into a little spot prawn cone, garnishing with some caviar and flowers.
Lovely. Well, let's get started. Yeah, we can talk some more as we go through this. Probably one of the best emails I have ever received from a chef was from you. So when I reached out to you, you said, well, I can make something, but quite frankly, most, if not everything I make at the restaurant is something most people can't do at home, and isn't that the whole reason we go out to eat? And I just thought, many chefs feel that way for sure, but you're kind of the first one in my 20 years that actually put it that way in an email, and I really appreciated it.
Well, it's definitely one of the things when I'm thinking about my menu and my dishes, I want to make sure that it's not something you can just simply do at home.
Right.
If you're going out to a nice meal, if you're going to spend your hard-earned money, you want to make sure that you're getting an experience that you can't just replicate yourself very easily.
Agreed.
And if you can replicate it, it's a lot of prep, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort.
Right.
So this is just a batter that I made. So there's actually some West Coast spot prawns in there that I blitzed up with some egg white I should say, icing sugar, a little bit of sea truffle as well, which I also brought with me.
Okay.
And sea truffle is this Atlantic Ocean seaweed.
Sea truffle?
Fairly identical to a truffle.
Yeah.
Obviously a little bit brinier. It has a similar flavor, but again, obviously brinier.
More affordable?
No, not necessarily.
Not really.
No, not really.
Okay.
It's not the easiest.
Thought I'd help you out there at home, right? Because I love truffle, but it's not necessarily one of those things you're using for an everyday meal, unless you get there's some reasonable truffle oils out there.
There are. I've been trying to get Canadian truffles. So there's one farm in Vancouver on the island that does it, but the seasons have gotten worse and worse.
Oh, really?
So every time I message him, he's like, sorry, got nothing for you.
Probably climate change kind of issues, weather issues.
Weather issues out for sure.
Yeah.
And it's just not a species that's necessarily grown here a lot, so it's also acclimatizing and all that.
Gotcha.
So anyways, we spread it with a stencil. We bake that off. The initial bake is fairly quick. We're looking at about 3 minutes at 350.
Okay, so pretty darn quick.
Pretty darn quick.
All right.
So you want it to be pliable. So I already did that, so I can bring these guys
Through the
out.
magic of television out of our oven here, folks.
So now they're a bit more pliable, so you can still work with them.
Right.
And then just roll them up nicely here.
That almost looks like an icing little cone there that that you'd attach to the bag, but this is specific to doing this, I guess.
Well, this
sort of thing.
Any kind of cone shape you want to make, really. So then you just do that, and then you bake them again. And then this time you're baking them for much longer. You're going in again at about 350 till they kind of crisp up. Then you're pulling them out. You're pulling out this guy. And then you're putting them back in at 220 for like 20 minutes. Okay. So you're really trying to dry them out so they get crispy.
You're having some patience with these ones.
Yeah, that's why I had to do it in stages like this.
Otherwise, I appreciate it.
I would have taken up the whole segment.
Yeah, exactly. Our other guests in the green room are going, when is my turn? Justin's been cooking forever here on the show. Let's talk a little bit more about your philosophy. You were telling the members of our crew a little bit about the philosophy and sustainability. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, I decided to go a bit more sustainable and ethical in my sourcing. A lot of restaurants do. A lot of chefs pride themselves on that. One of the things I don't do at this point is cook sous vide, which is a big shift in my life because that was a big thing that we cooked a lot that way in restaurants. Right,
right. It became quite a trend, right, for a lot of restaurants. I just remember
looking over one day at a garbage bag online, and it was full of other plastic bags, and it just didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
There are companies coming out with biodegradable ones now, though, but they're in Europe and very expensive. So
I see.
For now, no sous vide cooking.
Gotcha.
But it's been working well for us. So we source mostly local. I think I've had one or two items, main items that aren't from Canada. I'll always pick ethical sustainability over local, which is a little bit of a confusing situation or conversation that, again, I could probably take up the whole episode talking about.
Yeah, no, but it certainly makes sense because not everything that's been, ethically grown we can necessarily find locally in any region, right, around the world.
Focusing a lot on fish and seafood, obviously, because that's a little bit easier for me to be able to pinpoint the ethical and sustainable practices there.
Right.
We like to use a lot of fermentation. So it's not necessarily the forefront of the food, but most dishes, if not all dishes, have a fermented element to them. Usually in the background, the back note, kind of creating that umami, that savoriness that a lot of people really love and really like to eat, but don't necessarily know what it is.
Right, right. Yeah, and great for you, too, right?
For sure, yeah.
When it comes to your digestive system, gut health, and all those sort of things. You have something else called the Burnt Chef Project. Tell me about that.
So I just became an ambassador for Burnt Chef Project. It is a worldwide organization, primarily based in the UK, though. Basically, what they're trying to do is make mental health, kind of bring it to the forefront. Getting rid of the stigma that we have to be tough, we have to be strong. The chef in our restaurants and being a chef, you're kind of brought through it, getting yelled at a lot, getting stuff thrown at you a lot, and you're kind of taught to stuff down your feelings and that you just keep moving forward.
Yeah. Don't ask questions. Just listen to chef himself. Who's the boss. Well, we'll continue this conversation in just a moment because you're gonna finish this off for us, and we have some other exciting things that Justin is working on at Perch, and their bar manager has a really cool competition we'll tell you about coming up after this. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details. With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV.
It's closing time, and you stayed out longer than you planned. So now you can't drive, and the buses have stopped running. You could always call your girlfriend. Or maybe your roommate? What about your best friend? You could just dial 1-888-TAXI-GUY or use the Taxi Guy app. The call and the app are free, and they both connect you to a local cab company to bring you home safely. Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive, drive sober.
Boom, 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 boom. 20 bucks. 20 bucks. Hi guys, it's Maggie, Mrs. Calabash and Derek. And whoa, we're back. Rogers Television. So please watch us on Rogers Television. We've just done our first show. It was Anytime Shrimp Special and an Asian salad. So please remember, Rogers Television, Mrs. Calabash cooks. I'll see you guys.
Join us for the new season of Ottawa Storytellers, right here on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to the show, back with a chef and owner of Perch. Justin is back for another segment with us today, and we're going to finish off this beautiful tartare, right? Yep. I guess that's what we're doing, right? Like a cone tartare that we're doing. But why don't you just finish about talking? You mentioned mental health and how you're putting that really at the forefront at the restaurant as well, right?
Yeah. So I mean, at the restaurant, we make sure our staff has what they need. That's a big part of it. Checking in on them and ourselves. You know, we'll have meetings. My partner and I, as owners, you know, we also go through stress and basically good communication is what's important.
Right.
And everywhere in life, but especially in restaurants.
Yeah, agreed. And people watch television shows and movies and they think that's the environment it just normally should be. And it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be. And that's what I learned at Atelier Credit in San Francisco, actually. That was a lot of fun there.
Nice.
And I wanted to bring that kind of atmosphere here.
I love it. Let's finish this off. So what have you got? You just brought something out here.
Okay, so this is what the pizza tender, this is half, or a piece of it. It's normally about this long.
Okay.
I like to put it in shio koji. So that's kind of going back to the fermentation. That's koji, water, and rice, and then just letting it sit for time.
Okay.
I go about 5 days. That's this guy here, room temp. You can kind of smell the funkiness, the umami.
Yeah.
So that's breaking down the proteins, making it more tender, bringing out a lot of umami flavors.
Okay.
I usually like to freeze it after, which sounds weird, but then I like to sear it.
Okay.
So I like to sear my tartares, which kind of sounds counterintuitive considering it's raw. But if it's frozen, you're keeping it raw inside, you're giving it that nice char. It's giving a lot of flavor. And then we just kind of cut it up.
Oh, that is beautiful.
So still completely raw.
Yeah.
But because of the char, you get a lot of, you get extra bite, little charred bits.
Yeah, of course.
The Maillard reaction there, you get a lot of umami out of that, a lot of flavor. And then also you just go, nice fine dice.
Nice knife, by the way.
Thank you. I actually just got that.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I just got my first last Christmas, and what a difference, right?
Oh,
It's a piece of art, and should remind people at home, like a sharp knife is a lot safer than a dull knife, isn't it?
Yes.
Right?
A dull knife will slip. It will. It's a lot harder to work with, for sure.
Yeah.
So you're a lot more likely to cut yourself with it. It's also going to hurt more if you cut yourself with it.
And this is a great investment. This is going to last a lifetime, something like that, right? All right, so we've cut it up into small pieces like you would in a normal tartare,
exactly.
right?
You could do normal tartare garnishes with it, egg yolk, stuff like that.
Right.
I don't really like to do anything too overly normal. So
I love it.
Yeah, I like being weird. So again, we got sea truffle.
Okay.
I made an emulsion with that. So you got sea truffle in there, you got egg yolks. We don't use citrus in-house unless I can get it from the Quebec farm.
Okay.
But I already got my shipment for the year because it is only once a year.
Right.
So instead we use verre jus for acidity, which is unripe grapes. You juice them.
Never heard of that. Okay.
And it adds beautiful acidity to the dish, to the cocktails. We use it a lot in cocktails as well. Season it however you'd like. I usually go pretty simple with salt. The emulsion has a lot of flavor in there.
Right.
And then the easiest way to get into a cone is a piping bag. Now, still haven't figured out necessarily the best way to do this without plastic, unfortunately.
Okay. Oh yeah, of course.
That's
right.
Always looking at
there might be some that are biodegradable. I haven't seen them on the market.
There's reusable ones.
Oh yeah, okay.
But they're not the greatest. They're kind of hard to work with.
Tough to clean
and they're
too.
Hard to clean.
Yeah.
So safety is also an issue there.
For sure.
And then these are those cones we were talking about.
Right.
So here we have what I call a garamel. I don't know if this has ever been done anywhere else.
Garamel,
Yeah,
okay.
so I make a garum. which is, again, koji, water, protein usually. Let it sit at 60 Celsius for 2 to 3 months. You can do it at room temp. You got to up the salt a lot. It becomes quite salty.
Okay.
It's basically just a fish sauce. And then I make a caramel and I mix them together.
That's amazing.
So just kind of coat the outer edge. Kind of try to make it look like one of those ice cream cones that you get at a store.
Yeah.
Then we got some bee pollen here that I've toasted.
Oh yeah, I've seen more and more chefs using bee pollen.
Yeah, it's nice little acidity, or not acidity, sorry, sweetness to it. Once you toast it, you get a little bit of nuttiness as well.
Okay.
Now it might run a little bit. That's all right. They always do.
Okay.
Goes in.
While you're doing that, let's talk about your bar manager who was on the show previously, Shannon.
Yeah.
He's heading where?
So we're going to Nicaragua at the end of this month.
Okay.
We're flying down to go to the Florida Can of Rum distillery. So Shannon won a regional competition for Florida Can of Rum, sustainable cocktails.
Okay.
The cocktail was or is on the menu currently, which is always fun. So we're flying down. He's going to compete at the Worlds.
Nice.
And hopefully place top 3, hopefully win. But it is a huge competition with a lot of talented people.
Amazing.
And we get to do tours of the distillery. We're going on a sustainability talk. We get to go hiking. It's going to be a really good time. I'll probably have more fun than he will because I don't have the stress.
You get to be the tag along, and you don't have the stress of doing the competition. But you've competed yourself as well, right? And a lot of fun, or I mean, I guess it's a mix of stress and fun.
It's a different world.
Yeah.
Fun is fun, potentially fun afterwards.
Okay.
So most recently I competed at a Great Canadian Kitchen Party. I also competed to try to be the Canadian representative for Bocuse d'Or not too long ago.
Okay.
That was incredibly stressful. The talent there is incredibly high.
Right. But a great experience.
Great experience.
Right?
I don't think I'm a competition chef.
Okay.
It's a different world.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's a different world.
Not everybody's ready for that or wants to do that sort of thing. Before I run out of time, want to mention you're going to be traveling and working on a cookbook, right?
Yeah, so I signed a publishing deal with Figure One Publishing.
Wow.
And we're going to be doing our cookbook. We're taking a year to write it and get photography, and then we're doing a year of editing and and putting it all together. So I really wanted to showcase what Canada is.
Right.
And not just what perch is. So I'm going to farms. We're going to our sablefish supplier out West Coast. Same with shoyu supplier. Canadian wasabi I'm going to try to go visit and get to know.
What are you putting on
So
here?
these are bachelor buttons, also called cornflowers.
Cut you off, but I was
no
intrigued.
worries.
That
So a little bit of
really
creme
cool.
fraiche there, just to kind of add, to balance out the whole flavor. And then we just got to put bachelor buttons. We don't have to, but it's pretty.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I will remind people at home what you said to me in that email is if you're going to go somewhere, you go somewhere that first of all is local and not a chain restaurant necessarily, and you're going to get something you'll never get anywhere else, right?
Exactly.
It's an absolute unique experience. You're located down there on 300 Preston Street. You can visit them at perchottawa.ca as well. They've got some fabulous cocktails, a wonderful menu. Really recommend you check them out. Justin, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Enjoy that trip, and you as well, Shannon. We'll be back with more right after this.
This is a perfectly healthy child. What's unhealthy are birth alerts. A racist practice that may stop this Indigenous mother from going home with her newborn. Become an ally. Rise above racism in healthcare.
Johnny wanted to go back home. It was 1,000 kilometers away. They forced him to go to the Indian residential school. More than 150,000 of us children had to go. They wanted to change us.
Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name.
Hallowed be your name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done.
Kill the Indian and the child. It's been called cultural genocide. I survived residential school. My brother Johnny did not.
Chani Wenjack was one of thousands of children who died due to Canada's residential school system. More than 80,000 survivors and their families still live with its legacy today.
Watch Podium exclusively on Rogers TV.
Unbelievable. You just never see that. What a shot. The OHL on Rogers TV.
Well, we go from one form of the art to another. We talk the culinary arts, and now we're talking about a variety of different arts because exciting news. I know you've met my next guest. She is so proud that things have been going so well at the Carleton Place Gallery. She's the owner, gallerist. She's also a mixed media abstract artist. Pamela Stewart back on the show. Pam, welcome.
Hi.
Exciting times. Let's first of all talk about that. I mean, things are still rolling along, but you've got a lot. We'll get to some of the great events you have coming up, but how are things been going so far?
Good. We opened in late August to much fanfare from the town of Carleton Place.
Nice.
It's been fantastic. We have over 20 different artists, local and regional fine artists represented in the gallery. 2D art, 3D art, sculpture, pottery, you name it, wall art, all local, all regional.
And right downtown Carleton Place. And some people may snicker and go, oh, downtown Carleton Place. But boy, it has been like the growth in Carleton Place has been unbelievable, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, new bridge, brand new downtown Main Street.
Yeah.
Fabulous new restaurants, established restaurants. The culinary food and beverage there is unbelievable.
Nice.
You got Black Tartan and Bolton House and Frescas and like I could go on. There's a new German bakery.
Oh, wonderful.
And now there's basically a fine art gallery right on the river that has an attached workshop. We offer workshops, special events. We've got lots of stuff coming up.
Yeah, let's talk about workshops. So what sort of workshops will you be offering through the gallery?
Well, first of all, the space is for rent. So any artist can come in and rent the space, and we can either help coordinate that event for them, or they can just book it and run the workshop and event. But as well, we have Alcohol Inc. My course is coming up this Tuesday. Even one of the gallerists, Colleen Gray, is doing her innovative synthetic paper and watercolor series. But we are going to have rock talks about geologists and your favorite pet rocks. We're going to have
amazing.
Yeah, like
the gallery
mandala.
looks beautiful, by the way. We were just seeing the video there. What a great
Yeah.
space.
It's really good.
Like, was that an empty space when you got there, or was it? Oh, I didn't think so.
It was an occult themed black walled tattoo parlor.
Really?
And in 2.5 months we
Wow.
completely completely
A lot of blood,
renovated
sweat,
it.
and tears went into renovating that place. That's for sure. You've also got an art music series, right? That you're putting on. Tell me about that.
So this is where the real community comes in. Our tagline is an art gallery for the community. And we had an artist come in and talk to us and say, like, what about having house style concerts in this space? And we're like, the acoustics are fabulous.
I can imagine.
So we've partnered with Mel and Dawn Bray, who's a local musician, and they are putting together monthly art house concert series. And each month it's $30 a ticket, 50 chairs total. Concerts with different musical artists.
Great intimate space. You're right there, close to the artist. So, and Don's one of the first.
The first artist. So
right?
him and Chris McLean.
Chris has been on the show in the past. Well,
great.
yeah. I mean, both of those those two are great,
so
great local
this
musicians.
Thursday.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Okay.
so looking
tickets
forward to it.
available online.
Tickets are at cpgallery.ca or the ticketsplease.ca site. Yeah.
Let's talk about the pieces. You brought some things along here. Let's talk about some of the two pieces beside us. Let's start with the one beside me here. Tell me about this. This is called Awakening. Is that right?
It's called Awaken, I believe, and it is by Diane Kaminsky. So she's one of our mixed media artists, but her work is multi-layered, very kind of things that you recognize done in different ways. So somewhat semi-abstract, impressionistic a little bit, but we have a series of her encaustics even, which is the wax style paintings, which are really, really cool. So I have a number of her pieces pieces in the gallery right now.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And then the one beside you, tell me about this one.
So this one is by Colleen Gray, the gallerist that I said does the painting on synthetic paper. So this is the Daniel Smith style watercolors on synthetic paper, and we are actually carrying Daniel Smith watercolors starting this month. We're getting the shipment in, but they have ground mineral content in them. So when you, if I tilted that, you'd see the effervescent iridescence and the reflective qualities of the ground minerals that are in it. But yes, but she's a Métis artist, so each one of her paintings comes with a story.
And yeah, and you know what? And not only does it come with a story like her story, but as you look at paintings like this, you come up with your own story, right? That's what I love about abstract. Well, you do beautiful abstract yourself. No, but it's true. I mean, I think that's what, I think a lot of people look at abstract and sometimes they're confused with the piece, right? Because they don't know what your inspiration was, but that's not the whole point necessarily.
It totally depends what your point of reference is and what you see in the piece and what feeling you take from it as well sometimes.
You probably had a chance to talk to our author, Peggy Blair, that's on the show today. I'm sure she went, wait a minute, you're doing author panels, I want to talk to you. That's something else you're doing. Tell me about that idea.
So this is a fun partnership that I came up with. There's a grand author takeover happening at the end of February at the Grand Hotel in Carleton Place. And so on Thursday night, we are doing the grand introduction, which is an artist panel, kind of live readings and panel session for people to just ask questions and get to know the artists and everything. And that's going to be after hours in the gallery as well.
There's the poster for everybody at home right there. And that's a fundraiser as well, right? Tell me about that.
Canada. So it's basically the tickets price is whatever you want to donate. And so we're not charging for the tickets other than hopefully doing that. And the entire weekend, I guess, is a fundraiser for that.
First Book Canada kind of speaks for itself, I think, for everybody at home. But for those that aren't aware, it's a great organization, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a wonderful organization. And I mean, it's providing, books to, people that early readers and around the country, helping people get books in their hands. And
what have you brought? You brought some supplies with you. Is that what else you're doing at the gallery? Selling supplies too?
So
Great idea.
We have partnered with Art Factory in Renfrew, which is owned by Patrick John Mills, who's another artist. And so this is the largest independently owned art complex in Canada at this point. And he has an art supply store, and every single thing that we sell is the lowest price in the Ottawa region.
That is amazing.
So, and we've got lots of different supplies from your beginner level supplies all the way up to fine art supplies.
You've got to connect me with this. This is a great story. I mean, you just shared it, but it would be really neat to, just hear from the beginnings and some of the history behind that. It's an amazing story.
On the show for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. To get, again, tickets to any of these, and you're going to be obviously doing these on a monthly basis, semi-monthly basis. That's the plan moving forward, right?
There is a full calendar on our website, updated all the time with all the different workshops. Our email list, you can sign up for it, and once a month we send you a summary of everything that's going on.
cpgallery.ca. We'll be back right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Thanks, Derek.
After a night out with your friends, there's always options for getting home safely. You could call your BFF, your mom or dad, whoever you can count on for a safe ride home. You could call your favorite cab company or 1-888 taxi guy, or you could use the Arrival Live smartphone app to help you choose your ride. Be it a friend, transit, or taxi, getting home safely is app easy. Now available for iOS and Android devices. Visit arrivallive.org to find out more. Arrival Live, drive sober.
Join me, holistic chef Daniela Croco, for season 4 of Simply Cooking by Chef, right here on Rogers TV.
These days at your local Legion, we're marching to the beat of a different drum. On a mission to support veterans, to have fun, and to welcome everyone to our ranks. You don't have to be a veteran to join the Legion. And as a member, you'll join thousands of others serving our veterans, our communities, and our country. Oh yeah, and our Member Perks program will save you thousands on shopping, dining, products, and services across the country. Join us at legion.ca.
Learn all about the creation of the National Capital Region on The History of Ottawa, according to Phil Jenkins, on Rogers TV.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
Welcome back to the show. This is a topic we touched on just briefly last week, and so I was excited when my next guest sent me an email and said, hey, have you ever heard of an end-of-life doula? Would you like to talk about it on the show? And I said, absolutely, because we like to have fun on the show, but we also like to tackle serious topics. I'm joined by Leslie Ackey. She's an end-of-life doula at the Ottawa Carleton Association for Persons with Developmental Disabilities.
Big
Welcome.
long name.
It is a big long name. It's a good title, though. And as I said, we did touch on it, but we didn't really go into depth at all, Leslie. What exactly is an end-of-life doula?
An end-of-life doula supports someone in their end-of-life journey. So typically, once you're diagnosed with a life-limiting illness, that's kind of a tongue twister, a life-limiting illness, an end-of-life doula sort of steps in and helps do some of the planning, some of the try to help the family, try to help the person who's impacted. My role is a little bit different so I'm not going to say the whole name because we've only got 7 minutes.
We can use the acronym.
Yes,
yeah.
OCAP.
Right.
So it's a little shorter. At OCAP, I am supporting individuals with developmental disabilities on their end-of-life journeys.
Okay.
So I am supporting the individual, I'm supporting the staff teams that support them because they're like family, and I'm also supporting the families.
So let's talk about, first of all, the individual. What does that support look like when you're working with them through that end-of-life journey?
To be honest, this is all sort of new for me. I only graduated with my certification as a deaf doula. It's a pretty heavy name, so I refer to myself as an end-of-life doula. It's the same thing.
Right.
In April, and I've had a couple experiences, but they weren't life-limiting. People didn't have a diagnosis with a life-limiting illness.
Okay.
It was a sudden tragic event.
I see.
So I haven't really had the experience in the whole life-limiting part, but I have stepped in. So
stepped in working with the family then because of the tragic death of a family member?
Yeah,
I see.
And the support team as well.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things you don't think about when someone tragically passes away. Like there's the paperwork stuff.
Right.
But then there's remembering the person for who they are. So our goal at OCAP is person-centered planning.
Okay.
So the person comes first. Their choices come first. Their decisions come first. What they want. We really focus that in life, but not so much in death.
Yeah.
So my goal is to try and introduce and kind of change a culture a little bit about talking about planning for death and making it a little bit normalized. And there's 4 different ways that we can go about this.
Okay.
So there's advanced planning. So it's exactly what it says, finding out from the person, do they want to be buried, cremated? Do they want to die at home? Do they want to die in a hospice, a hospital situation? I know that's not the tragic ending part,
but it's definitely something that people need to think about. And
absolutely.
When it comes
and you
to
don't
death,
think about it.
Yeah. When it comes to death, we all. I think we try to avoid it, right? We try to avoid having these conversations, and that leaves the family members and the friends oftentimes in a difficult position, right?
Absolutely. I myself, my mom used to try and talk to me about what she wanted her end of life to look like, and I always put it off. It's like, I don't want to talk about it, Mom. Well, these are the songs I want at my service, basically. La 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 la. And it's really ironic that now I'm helping people do that.
But is that part of going through the experience?
I think
one of the reasons why? Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned planning. So that's one of the 4. What's another?
The others are, so I like to come up with a legacy project. So how do people want to be remembered by? Right. People with developmental disabilities, just like you and I, they've got very special talents. I know Pamela has beautiful art. the people I support make beautiful arts. They take photos. They, you know, write letters. It's all sorts of creative ways for people to remember them by.
Yeah, and how they want to be remembered.
Exactly.
And I think that's important because I think it's I don't know, I find it's a very Canadian thing, right? We're very humble. We have a lot of humility as Canadians, humans in general, where we don't want to come up with ideas on how to celebrate ourselves, right? Because we think that that's, you know, I don't know, maybe, you know, your ego's coming into it, but there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
right?
Absolutely not. Celebrate you for who you are.
Absolutely.
And what you've done.
Oh yeah, when, you know, my mom, you know, I don't want to celebrate my 80th birthday. I was like, are you kidding? You should be celebrating your birthday more and more each and every year, right? That's, I mean, that's my philosophy.
Yep.
So take that for what it is. Okay, so we've got 2 out of 4. What's another?
Then there's the vigil. So when you're at your end of life, it's happening. What do you want? Do you want music playing? Do you want people around you? Do you not want people around you? In my situations, not everyone gets along with each other in a group home.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
you're sort of
sure.
placed with people without choice. So I don't want you, Derek, beside me because you're too Canadian, but I'll take, you know, I'll take Arthur because he's a lovely 82-year-old man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
that
sure.
sort of stuff.
And you're allowed to do that.
For
right?
sure, and it should be respected.
Absolutely, I agree.
The people that we support don't typically have much choice in their lives. So I'm trying to advocate for them to have more choice and more say in their life at this end of time. I'm trying to normalize death a little bit more.
Yeah.
Some people are really comfortable about talking about it, others are not. And then you get individuals who are nonverbal.
Right.
And trying to figure out what they want. So you really do rely on staff who support them because they know them best.
So
and
yeah,
families.
and again, you're working with patients, you're working with staff, you're working with family.
Yeah.
So we've 3 out of 4. What's the last after, you know, after
the grief
vigil?
and bereavement piece. So how do you support those left behind? You know, I've recently just helped the sister of someone who passed away navigate the city of Ottawa for funding because bureaucracy is difficult, especially when you're grieving.
Absolutely.
And it's complicated and you're passed from one person to the next. And a lot of these families are elderly. I don't work with the younger set. The individuals I tend to work with are more seniors.
Listen, I'm so glad you reached out because a really important conversation and I really appreciate your time and sharing this with us today. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me.
A pleasure. We'll be back with more right after this. Peggy Blair, author, coming up right after the break.
This is a brain in urgent need of mental health care. But because 3 out of every 4 Indigenous people experience racism in healthcare, she may not get the help she needs. Become an ally. Rise above racism in healthcare.
Long way from Nashville and Mama, I'll tell you that. Performed from Montreal to Boston to Los Angeles. But Toronto, that's my chosen home. Sure, when I'm walking down Yonge Street, I see some funny people who have the nerve to point the finger at me. And grin and smile and whisper. My song was #2 on local radio. Sold 10,000 in Toronto alone. Turned down Ed Sullivan because they asked me to remove my makeup. Wouldn't do American Bandstand because of their segregation policies. I was just being me, never tried to explain myself to anyone. And besides, none of that to worry, Jackie, because I know I look good. Got a new way of loving, baby. Thought I want to teach it to you.
Jackie Shane was a pioneer transgender soul singer, a central figure in the Toronto R&B scene. She helped shape what we know as the Toronto sound.
I hope you join us for an hour to give. You are going to be inspired as we tell you stories from the Children's Aid Foundation of Ottawa. We're going to tell you how they support children and youth in this community. I'm Sam LaPrade. I'm the host. I hope you join us.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
Welcome back to the show. If you're a regular viewer, you will recognize my next guest, wonderful author and self-publisher, Peggy Blair, joining me here on the show from Rebound Press. Welcome back. Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
We'll obviously talk about your latest books, Shadow Play, that you were on talking about previously on the show. But today we wanted to concentrate on publishing and self-publishing. And you're telling me Canadian authors, more and more authors are having to go to that route of self-publishing. Why is that, Peggy?
Well, it's a very tough market for publishers these days. It costs much more than it used to produce a book, just because of the same concerns that are, driving prices and everything else.
Right.
We're a big country with costly distribution of books. And what I don't think a lot of Canadians realize is that bookstores take about a 50% discount off the price of a book in order to sell it.
Really?
And no sales are firm. So if they take books, effectively it's on consignment. If they can't sell them, the ones they can't sell, they have a right to return to the publisher, get a full refund, and the publisher pays the expense.
Wow.
So unless a book is really at the top tier of best sellers, where a publisher can be convinced that when it gets out the gate, they're going to make their money back, they're very cautious right now to take anybody on. And what's happened as a result of it is they're just not keeping authors. They can have great books that are well reviewed and even hit bestsellers lists, but if those numbers are not there, they're not keeping them on. It's harder to get in to get an agent, because the agents know it's difficult to place these books with publishers,
right.
And it's difficult to convince a publisher to take a chance if your track record in sales isn't absolutely stellar. So, which is what happened to me. I was with Big Five publishers. For the first two books, I was with Penguin. For the second two, I was with Simon & Schuster. Books extremely well reviewed, won awards, all the rest of it. Even hit the Globe and Mail bestseller list and the Toronto Star bestseller list. With the fifth book, Shadow Play, which everyone agreed was the best in the series, my publisher said, "I'm sorry, we don't think it's going to be a bestseller."
Why?
Well, for the reasons that I guess that I've mentioned. I mean, I had a chat.
Because if you're award-winning, that's some prestige behind you, but I guess you're talking more about, you've got to be, a name for years now?
I think so. And
really?
I think that the thing that we don't have, that writers in an earlier era had, is the time to build up our reader base.
Okay.
And develop that loyalty. Because it's like any other form of marketing. A name comes out, no one's heard of who you are. The publishers might have a month to promote that author, and then they've got another book to get to. And so when I met Ian Rankin, who you might recall I met him in a bar during the festivities when I'd been shortlisted for the UK debut Dagger in London. I met him just before I was about to catch my red-eye flight back to Canada. And it was a result of that chance meeting that I ended up finding an agent and getting published, because I'd been rejected like 156 times at that point.
I remember the story now.
Yeah, which I'll be telling on Saturday at the winery, by the way. And so I was asked to host him at the Ottawa Writers Festival, to sit on stage and chat with him, because we had a relationship. And he said, I wouldn't be able to get published now. To me,
That's amazing to think.
It was his seventh book that was his breakthrough novel. The first six were remaindered, which is what it's called when they don't sell. And rather than shipping them back to the publisher at publisher's expense, the publisher says, just tear the cover off and throw them away. It's not worth getting them back. So he had 6 books where he was able to build up that readership. And the seventh was the one that finally hit those magic numbers, and now he's arguably the most famous crime writer in the world.
No kidding.
He said he couldn't do it now, wouldn't have stayed published, wouldn't have gotten published.
So I imagine still challenging, though, self-publishing. Like, what is that? Yeah, well, I mean, that's pretty obvious, I know, probably to say it, but what are the challenges? What's the process of that?
Well, there's a lot of technical stuff I had to learn that my big five used to take care of. So I mean, I didn't know about, when you send your manuscript off to the printer and they say, okay, what paper weight do you want? Do you want, what are the bleed lines? What's the, is it perfect binding? You're like, I have no idea what any of that stuff is.
Choose.
So I mean, so I had to learn some technicalities of it, and I had a great team. I'm not trying to do this alone. I had professional typesetting, editing, art, and all the rest of it. What I found most challenging, and it's actually something I'm glad to be able to talk to you about, is I no longer qualify for any of the awards that my books were submitted for, because I'm not published through an eligible publisher, and my books are not available in regular retail channels, because I would lose money on every book if I did that.
Yeah.
So there's a huge gap when it comes to self-published indie authors, and many of them I think are quite wonderful authors who just don't get a chance to get exposed.
And you're considering trying to get an award, right? Right?
I am creating
You're creating
an indie
one.
award. Yep.
Good for you.
And I'm working on that now. I have a sculptor friend who's working on what the physical award would look like, because I always start there and work backwards.
Right.
Hoping to find a corporate donor if there's someone out there.
Corporate donor alert.
And I've been working with some retired librarians. My thinking is that instead of having these awards judged by editors and people in the industry, since they're indie, I want readers to judge them. So I want to work with some libraries.
Smart.
And have their readers assess who do they like, and let's get some new names out there. The other thing I wanted to do in the course of doing this was, I think these covers are a work of art. And I was working with a graphic designer and realized just how much went into choosing the colors, choosing the fonts, lightening images, selecting images, and so on. And I realized there is no award in Canada for jacket covers. There's one in Alberta, and there's one in the United States.
Okay.
But nothing for Canadian authors. So that's the second.
Nothing specific to Canadian authors.
And that's the second thing I'm working on, is creating an award for that.
Good for you. I mean, it takes a ton of work to do something like that, and it takes somebody like yourself to get it started. So full respect to you on that. You mentioned that event you have coming up at the winery. Tell everybody at home about that.
So this Saturday, 2 to 4 at Jabulani Winery, which is just off Dwyer Hill Road. Wonderful, wonderful spot.
Yeah.
I'll be talking about how I met Ian Rankin and my crazy journey to publication, and what I call the reverse trajectory of going from being internationally published, Big Five, 8, translated into 8 different languages, down to being self-published and creating my own imprint. And, so it's quite a story. Tickets, cutoff for tickets is Thursday at 6:30. There will be wine or cider and some food available, and they'll have wine for sale. I'll have books for sale.
Where are the tickets available?
Eventbrite.
Okay, go to Eventbrite, and if you'd like copies of both Hungry Ghosts and Shadow Play, you can go to reboundpress.com. You can get them right there. Thank you so much, Peggy.
Thanks, Derek.
Really
Always a
appreciate
pleasure.
it. We'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.
The regulars, the guys who keep this place in business. Last week, they had something to celebrate. Jason had just finished university, so they toasted his profs, his TAs, his old roommates. Well, they toasted just about everyone. But I worry about and take care of my guys. So even when I know they're not driving, sometimes that means bringing them a little surprise. And then they had a drink to me.
Brought to you by Smart Serve Ontario and Arrive Alive, Drive Sober.
With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV.
I still remember the games, the laughter, the footsteps through the hallway. I'll never forget the hard times.
Every day I come back from work, it's always like this. We're yelling in front of the kids.
The help we needed. How far we've come.
us for the new season of Ottawa Storytellers, right here on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to the show. Another great event to share with you here on the show, and it's going. Funds are going to a great cause, a great organization. Here to tell us more about it, I'm joined by Poonam Goel. She is the co-founder of Helping Hands, driven by youth. Welcome. Great to have you here, Poonam.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk about the organization first of all. Tell me a little. What was the inspiration behind developing this organization?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to your show.
You're welcome.
So this organization was founded mainly by my elder son, and when he was in a university, he thought he can help the community, and he helped the homeless people because he used to commute to Ottawa U, and then he used to see a lot of homelessness there, so he thought he can help. So there's two objectives of this organization. One is to help the underprivileged people and homeless people, and the second one to motivate youth to do the community work. So that was the two objectives behind the organization.
So how has he been achieving those objectives? Oh, I guess the two of you, because you've been working together. How have you been going about achieving those objectives?
We have done many fundraising events in the past. So we did gift basket programs, we did soup kitchens and cooking for Shepherd of Good Hope. And then we also did Amazing Race in Ottawa downtown, where University of Ottawa students or high schoolers were involved actually. So there were like fundraisings. We did winter clothing drives. We did food drives. So there were many of them, and many youth actually were part of the team.
Yeah, and you've certainly chosen some great initiatives over the years. There's no doubt about that. We've seen just your son commuting. I mean, I think everybody at home understands what you're talking about when he talks about the homelessness crisis that we see across the city. This particular event you have coming up, you're raising funds for Cornerstone Housing for Women, another great organization. Why that particular initiative?
Since my son actually moved to U.S. for studying, both of them, so just because Cornerstone, being a mom, being a woman, I just want all the women to live happily. So that's why I just want to help all the women in the community wherever I can reach. So Cornerstone is my host charity, so I do work for them. So I chose this. That's the reason I chose. And more like, I don't want to see any woman in pain.
Right.
So that's the reason.
We're just showing the poster here for this great fundraising gala you have coming up. Walk us through the details of the gala. What can people expect?
It's happening on January 28th. It's coming up in 2 weeks. It starts at 3 o'clock. It's because it's a Sunday. So we start at 3 o'clock, and we are expecting more than 400 people. So, and it's getting more like in a good vibes actually. People are buying a lot of tickets and stuff. So there will be stage programs, and there will be stage programs by Mexicans, by Arabic, by South Asians, Chinese people. So we are all volunteers. We are all doing for the women in need. And there will be 4-course meal, and it's provided by Mosaic Convention Center, the location. That's where we are doing it.
Okay.
There will be guest speakers. We might bring live stories from women's shelter if we can. So because not many women want to speak up, who went through this situation. So there will be DJ and dance. It's going to be like fun-filled evening.
Yeah, and I love that it's a multicultural evening that you're doing. Like that, was that very part of your philosophy? You wanted to make sure you brought, different members of the community together for this event?
Through this event, I want every community to be together. To help these women. We should not, no women should suffer, no matter regardless of religion or any country or any, but woman is like a human in the end. So, so every woman should be happy. So because I'm a happy woman, I'm respected in my own household, and I just want everyone to have that life.
That's an excellent.
I feel blessed and fortunate.
Yeah, very, very well said. We talked off the top about the inspiration being your son, but I imagine has this been always a part of your life, being an advocate for those in need? Was this something that was passed down from your own parents?
Yes, my dad was a social worker too, but he was in India.
Really? Okay.
He was in India, so I have seen him doing much work for the public, for a lot of things he had done. He passed away now. So I just learned from him how important this is to give back to community. So, and I'm passing this one to my kids. They have softer heart, and so I'm sure in coming years, they will, when their study they're doing a lot of work, but they'll be better human actually.
Oh, absolutely. Well, right. I think you've obviously been a great mentor. I mean, him starting this organization, right, and reaching out to you for assistance. Not every child thinks of doing that. When I'm going to start an initiative and I'm going to do it with my mom. So you've obviously done a wonderful job. Tickets are still on sale. How do people get tickets to the event?
There's a helping, like if you can go on Facebook page, my Facebook page, or Helping Hand Facebook page. There's a lot of information there, and there's a e-transfer link actually there, so they can e-transfer to Helping Hand D by V. Driven by youth, and at gmail.com.
Yeah, and we brought up the Cornerstone website as well, cornerstonewomen.ca/events. You can find the event there to get your tickets. Thank you, Poonam, for doing this. Really appreciate it. We'll be back with more right after this.
Watch Podium exclusively on Rogers TV.
Unbelievable. You just never see that. What a shot. The OHL on Rogers TV.
Join me, holistic chef Daniela Croco, for season 4 of Simply Cooking by Chef, right here on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to the show. Before we go to Eddie's, reviewing some of the events today, just want to remind you, if you have a story idea, please reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook, on Twitter, also known as X these days, on Instagram as well. So if you have a story idea, please don't be shy to reach out to me. Let's go to a couple of things. Lots happening at the Carleton Place Gallery. They've got their art music series coming up with Don Bray and Chris McLean. That's Thursday, January 24th at 7 p.m. And the Grand Intro Author Panel event, that is happening Thursday, February 22nd at 6:30 p.m. And you can find your tickets at cpgallery.ticketsplease.ca for that one. Peggy Blair, she's got her author talk. She'll walk you through her entire journey of being an author with one of the, some of those top 5 publishers in the world to now self-publishing. That's happening at the Jabulani Winery, 8005 Jock Trail Road. That is this Saturday, January 20th from 2 to 4 p.m. on that one. And the Helping Hands charity fundraiser, Sunday, January 28th at 3 p.m. And tickets are available at cornerstonewomen.ca/events. Thanks so much for watching this edition. We'll see you next time here on Daytime.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
I'm Meg, and this is Fit Finley, and we're from Fit Over 50. Join me for a new season, which is full of awesome workouts designed for adults 50 plus. Improve your motivation, your strength, and your energy. Join me for a new season of Fit Over 50 exclusively on Rogers TV.
Join us Monday to Friday on Daytime Ottawa as we showcase some of the fabulous things that are happening in your city.